So, with 2019 coming to an end and the new year approaching, I thought I'd take a second to recap on my favorite political moment of 2019. So, let's watch and then we'll discuss. This is John Delaney versus Bernie Sanders at the second Democratic debate.
Let's start the debate with the number one issue for Democratic voters, health care. And Senator Sanders, let's start with you. You support Medicare for all, which would eventually take private health insurance away from more than 150 million Americans in exchange for government-sponsored health care for everyone. Congressman Delaney just referred to it as bad policy, and previously he has called the idea political suicide that will just get President Trump reelected. What do you say to Congressman Delaney?
You're wrong. Right now, we have a dysfunctional healthcare system, 87 million uninsured or underinsured, $500,000 Americans every year going bankrupt because of medical bills, 30,000 people dying while the healthcare industry makes tens of billions of dollars in profit. 5 minutes away from here, John, is a country. It's called Canada. They guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. They spend half of what we spend. And by the way, when you end up in a hospital in Canada, you come out with no bill at all. Health care is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Congressman Delaney?
Well, I'm right about this. We can create a universal healthcare system to give everyone basic healthcare for free, and I have a proposal to do it. But we don't have to go around and be the party of subtraction and telling half the country who has private health insurance that their health insurance is illegal. My dad, the union electrician, loved the healthcare he got from the IBEW. He would never want someone to take that away. Half of Medicare beneficiaries now have Medicare Advantage, which is private insurance, or supplemental plans. It's also bad policy. It'll underfund the industry. Many hospitals will close, and it's bad policy.
Senator Sanders,
My name was also mentioned in this.
We're going to come to you in 1 second, but let me go to Senator Sanders right now. Senator Sanders?
The fact of the matter is, tens of millions of people lose their health insurance every single year when they change jobs, when their employer changes that insurance. If you want stability in the healthcare system, if you want a system which gives you freedom of choice with regard to doctor or hospital, which is a system which will not bankrupt you, the answer is to get rid of the profiteering of the drug companies and the insurance companies, move to Medicare for all.
But now he's talking about a different issue. What I'm talking about is really simple. We should deal with the tragedy of the uninsured and give everyone health care as a right. But why do we got to be the party of taking something away from people?
No one is the party.
That's what they're running on. They're running on telling half the country that your health insurance is illegal. It says it right in the bill.
All right, thank you.
We don't have to do that. We can give everyone health care and allow people to have choice. That's the American way.
Okay, I'm sorry, but guys, that was just glorious. Perfect answer from Bernie. Honestly, just like John Delaney hadn't even said anything, and after that first answer, it was almost like, what are you gonna say, John? It was like that was already like just knockout punch. Like just there's no coming back from that flawless answer given by Bernard there. But John Delaney, of course, this is what he does. He just arrogantly just says insurance industry talking points, just so arrogantly. He just says it if it's like, dude, we don't have to take stuff away, bro. Like, we should allow people to have choice. Just uses every single insurance industry talking point. But, yeah, that was just so glorious. So first I want to talk about the question and how it was even framed by Tap Jaker. So Tap Jaker is, I can't decide who I hate more, him or Chris Cuomo, because Chris Cuomo and Tap Jaker are just both, I feel like just they have such huge, like, well, especially Chris Cuomo. I feel like Chris Cuomo just has like a giant ego, and he like thinks he's so fucking like special and cool because he's an anchor on CNN. He's like, yeah, bro, like I'm from CNN. But then him and but then I feel like Tap Jaker is just so like snarky and just so smug with his fucking the questions he asks, that he's just like I feel like Chris Cuomo is more of just like an egotistical like idiot, like actually just like maybe not like the smartest guy, but I feel like Tap Jaker just knows exactly what he's fucking doing. He's like, yeah, Bernie, like Medicare. This is how he frames the question. Medicare for all. You support Medicare for all, which would take private health insurance away. So he's framing it in a right-wing perspective right off the bat, saying the Democrats, Bernie Sanders wants to take your health care away. So it's just framed in a Republican right-wing way from the beginning. And then he says, but you're going to get government-sponsored health care in return. So he's just saying, like, trying to make it sound as, like, bad as possible by using the right-wing framing. Like, you know what they say on Fox News, like, oh my god, they want to take away your private health insurance and force you onto the government-run plan. They just try to make it sound like it's, like, just something that's going to make you, like, die and, like, not be able to get to the doctor and have giant wait times, you know, everything they say about Medicare for all. So yeah, it's framed in a right-wing way. And then he says, Congress, this part was honestly kind of hilarious because, well, it's also, like, he's also trying to, in this instance too, trying to still plant the idea that, oh, Medicare for all is terrible, like it's just going to get Donald Trump reelected. He says, Congressman Delaney says that Medicare for all is bad policy, and it's also political suicide, which will just get President Trump reelected. Which is hilarious because John Delaney is polling at I think it's 0.4%. He's been at 0% before. He has literally no support. Like, no support. And this was from so long ago too, but he's still in the race, and he hasn't qualified for the past, I think, 3 debates. Maybe it's the past 4 debates, but it's been a lot of debates. And has no chance. He's never had a chance from the beginning. He's face planted and flopped every time he's done anything in public, and just utterly embarrassed himself, and just nobody supports him. Because he's basically running as a Republican. He's running on the platform of anything the Democratic base supports, I hate that, and I'm going to constantly shit on it. That's his platform, is literally just constantly shitting on everything that the base wants. Which is just even worse than what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. Because, yeah, Hillary Clinton would just, like, have to respond to, like, the accurate criticisms that Bernie would have, and it would end up making her say, oh, I don't support that, I don't support that, I don't support that. But John Delaney leads with that. He comes out, and his first, like, he says, he's running on, I don't support Medicare for all. That's, like, his platform, you know? Like, he's just coming straight out and saying, oh, we shouldn't have free college, or we shouldn't have Medicare for all, or I don't support the Green New Deal. That's, like, his platform. So, yeah, he says it's political suicide, but he's the one that doesn't support Medicare for all, and he's polling at almost 0%. And then you got Bernie Sanders, who's, like, the champion of Medicare for all, and that's, like, his, like, biggest, like, everyone knows, like, oh, Bernie Sanders, healthcare for everybody, Medicare for all. Like, that's, like, his number one issue, you could argue. And, so he's saying that it's political suicide when he's the one that doesn't support it, and he's at 0%. And Bernie does support it, and he's in second place behind melting brain Joe Biden. So it's just so stupid to think that, like, Delaney thought this was, like, a good, like, line of attack. Like, this is political suicide. It's just going to get Donald Trump reelected, when Bernie Sanders is consistently showing to have the best chance of beating Donald Trump, because does the best in the swing districts that went from Obama to Trump. And he's bringing in shit tons of independents and non-voters and even some conservatives, and he's holding the entire base. So John Delaney's just saying that with no evidence whatsoever. It's political suicide, but he's clearly the one committing political suicide by shitting on Medicare for all. So that was really embarrassing and hilarious. And then Bernie his answer was just amazing. He says, oh yeah, Tapjaker goes, what do you say to Congressman Delaney? And Bernie just goes, you're wrong. Like, he's like, obviously that guy's wrong. Like, dude, our health insurance system right now is dysfunctional, and it's run by private, for-profit companies whose only goal is to not deny you as much coverage as possible so they can make as much money as possible. Are you really? And on top of that, we're spending twice as much as the rest of the industrialized world, and the insurance companies are making billions, and we have 87 million people uninsured or underinsured. You got 30,000 people, 30 to 45,000 people dying every single year because they don't have health care. And then he says, this is my favorite line of the entire video clip. He says, 5 minutes away from here, John, is a country. It's called Canada. Because they were in Michigan. They were really close. I think they were in Detroit. They were super close to Canada. Is a country. It's called Canada. They guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. They spend half what we spend. And by the way, when you come out of a hospital in Canada, you have no bill at all. Healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that. So, just utter mic drop. When you say that Canada, dude, they're standing 5 minutes away from a country where you can go into any hospital, see any doctor you want, no matter how severe your injury is, no matter how bad the illnesses you have. You go to a hospital, they treat you, and you leave, and it's free. And they spend half what we spend. He says, like, dude, go to fucking Canada. They have the same type of single payer system that I'm talking about. Their system is millions of times better than our horrible system. And it was just like John Delaney was going to have no response. But of course, what does he do? He goes right into his Republican insurance industry talking points. And he says, like, well, I'm right about this. And he goes, you know, we shouldn't be the party of taking something away from people. Like, why do we have to take health insurance away from people who have it right now and like it? But what he's really talking about is private plans, because John Delaney's made a lot of money in questionable ways tied to the health insurance industry. So he's become rich. He's like, has like a net worth of like, I don't know, 50 something million, I think. And he's made a lot of that in healthcare, working in the health insurance industry. And then he's out there actively shitting on Medicare for all. And then he goes right back to his, so then he's just out here using these insurance industry talking points. So it's so predictable. And he says, you know, we got to give people choice. Like, why do we want to be the party of taking something away? And the choice talking point, I think, is the most infuriating because Medicare for all actually increases choice because it lets you go to any doctor, any hospital, which with our current system right now, you don't have choice. You can't go to any doctor. You can't go to any hospital you want because you have networks. You have the health insurance companies saying, oh, like, we don't cover that hospital, people who go to that hospital. We don't cover people who go to that doctor. Under Medicare for all, you'd be able to go to all those places, and there would be no networks. Everyone would be in network because everybody would be on the same plan. So he's just gaslighting and saying, like, oh, I want you to have choice. I want you to have choice. Bernie doesn't, but he's just incorrect because Bernie's going to give you more choice. It's the same shit Joe Biden says. He's like, I don't want Washington, D.C. to dictate to you what kind of health insurance you should have. Yeah, so that was just glorious. Favorite moment of 2019 in politics. It was the second Democratic debate. That whole debate was awesome. It was Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, although I'm not a huge Elizabeth Warren fan. It was still a great debate for both of them. They just were just murdering all of the centrists and all the corporate Democrats on stage. And it was just, it really showed, this debate showed how all the centrist Democrats are the same. Like in their cores, you have these people pretending that they're more progressive, but at the end of the day, since they're all taking money from the same donors, they all ultimately support the same economic policies. So when it comes to something like healthcare, yeah, they might name their plan something different, although it's usually gaslighting and saying that and trying to latch onto the popularity of Medicare for all, but really their plan is nothing like Medicare for all. When they say, like, Pete, like, oh my god, my least favorite is Mayor Pete because it's just just condescending. Like, just him naming it Medicare for all who want it. It's just so, not condescending, that's not the right word, but like, just blatantly, like, just blatant corruption, like blatant gaslighting, but also like trying to pretend like it's Medicare for all. Like, he's still trying to like have the progressive appeal by tricking people into thinking that it's Medicare for all, but he's really just going to end up selling us out with his private healthcare system. So yeah, that was glorious. That entire debate painted showed how all the corporate Democrats are really the same, and all they really, really want is to serve their donors. So go back and watch that debate. Yeah, favorite moment of 2019.